Welcome, everyone. I hope your day is progressing well. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. It is top of the hour, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Reneika Lightbourne. I'm really excited to have Steph Essary as our guest speaker. Stephanie is the owner of Lux Country Barns and Homes, also luxury Barndominium magazine. So thank you, Stephanie, once more for taking the time out to talk with the audience about this really trendy investment strategy.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So Stephanie's going to talk to us or introduce us to like a niche within real estate, which is barndominium investing. If it's, something that's, a new concept for you, definitely tune in, ask questions. Some of these, she'll cover some of the advantages and the steps of actually going about to build your first barndominium or different ways people invest in barndominiums. Before I turn it over, I do want to give you just a synopsis of what self-direction is, the account types available to you, and of course, the steps to get started with us once you're ready to open up your account with us at Advanta. If you have questions, again, feel free to put those in the question box. We will allocate time at the very end to get those answered for you. Again, I'm Reneika Lightbourne, Business Development Specialist here at Advanta. I've been with Advanta as an employee since 2019, but I'm also an active self-directed IRA investor myself, an Advanta client. If you want to, again, today's just an overview of what it is, but if you want to, do a deeper dive, schedule a consultation, you can feel free to reach out to me by sending me an email, giving me a call, or going to advantaira.com to schedule that consultation. So just a little housekeeping before we get going. Just know that at Advanta, we don't give our clients any tax, legal, or investment advice. All of the information that's going to be presented today is just more so for educational purposes. So as always, we encourage you to do your due diligence, consult with your professional teams, which includes your attorney, your CPAs, and financial advisors before making any investment decisions. Just quick takeaways, just know that any IRA or former employer plan qualifies to be self-directed. You choose the investment that works best for you. And then, of course, all of the income that's generated from that investment flows back into the IRA or the 401k. If there's any expenses associated with that investment, it would be paid out of the retirement account. So just a little history about Advanta and who we are. We've been in the business for nearly 20 years as the nation's leading self-directed IRA administrator. Again, we don't give our clients any investment advice, but our team is comprised of attorneys and certified IRA service professionals. Also, Advanta, our headquarters is located in Largo, Florida, which is the Tampa Bay general area. Advanta has an office in Atlanta, which is where I'm based, but we do work with clients nationwide as we have well over $2 billion under our administration. At Advanta IRA, we take great pride in providing our clients that concierge style service, which includes providing you a dedicated account manager that's going to be with you for the life of your account with us. So you have a direct point of contact. And then, of course, our educational content is second to none, where we provide you subject matter experts and practitioners in their respective field that talk to you or educate you on different alternative investment strategies. Also, to know that all of our webinars, so this webinar is recorded, you can find it on our YouTube channel, but also you can go to Advanta IRA and check out our video library. We also have a podcast that my colleague Alex hosts, so definitely feel free to check out our events, our webinars. Sorry, my computer just froze, my apologies. Check out our webinars and also our blogs. So going into exactly what is a self-directed IRA, just very simply, a self-directed IRA just means that you as the account owner have complete control over the investment decisions, you have complete control over your retirement funds, you really get to diversify your account outside of the traditional stocks and bonds. So you can use retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks to invest in real estate, whether it's going to be, like today's topic, we're talking specifically about a niche within real estate, barndominiums, but you can use it to invest in, short-term rentals or multifamily commercial projects. You can use IRA funds to invest in tax liens or tax deeds, precious metals, oil and gas. The list goes on and on in terms of what's on the table for you when it comes to investing in alternative assets using retirement funds. So why do people choose to self-direct? You can self-direct for many different reasons. I'll just touch on three. One, it can be a new source of capital for you. So instead of, tapping into your personal funds or, taking money out of your, your rainy day fund or taking out a personal loan, you can elect to put funds that's in an existing IRA or a former employer plan, put those funds to work to invest in your next project. Two, the ups and downs in the stock market. We don't have any control over, whether it goes up or down. One of the main reasons people look to self-direct is because specifically with real estate, they know it's always going to retain some value. People are always going to need some place to live, or, it's something other than, the traditional stocks and bonds. Another benefit also too is, the tax benefits, having those rents, those profits, those dividends flow back into the retirement account, tax-free or tax deferred, depending on the type of account that you have. Sorry, my computer is just freezing. In terms of the different types of accounts that can be self-directed, it's the accounts that you're already familiar with. For individuals who have traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, with traditional is tax deferred, meaning you get a tax break up front. With Roth IRAs, it's after tax dollars. And then, of course, for business owners, entrepreneurs, or if you have a side business, you can look to self-direct a SEP, simple or solo 401k. And then some lesser known accounts that are also, very good accounts to have to self-direct are educational savings accounts and also HSAs to cover medical related expenses. Flickering. In addition to, traditional IRAs and 401ks and HSAs, you can also self-direct former employer plans like 401k, 403bs, TSP type plans. If there's any, the only restriction you have to be mindful of, if it's a current employer and you're not 59 and a half, then most times you will not be able to self-direct that particular plan. Outside of that, you can self-direct. The main difference with a Roth, though, I just want to circle back, it's after tax dollars, meaning as long as you have that account for 5 years and you're 59 and a half, when you take a distribution at retirement, it's tax-free. In terms of the contribution limits for 2022, for traditional and Roth IRA, you can put in $6,000 a year if you're under the age of 50, $7,000 if you're over 50. For a SEP, you can put up to 25% of your earned income, not to exceed $61,000. Also, with a solo 401k, you can put possibly up to $61,000 if you're under the age of 50, or $67,500 if you're over the age of 50. So you get to contribute twice, as the employee and also the employer match. With an ESA to cover educational related expenses for your children or grandchildren or nieces and nephew, you can put in $2,000 per year per child. And then with an HSA, as long as you have a high deductible insurance plan, whether it's an individual or family plan, you can put in $3,650 for individual or $7,300 for a family plan. If you're over the age of 55, with an HSA, you can put an additional $1,000 catch-up. So my computer is just my apologies. When you're looking to get started with us, just know that we've really streamlined that process for you in 3 simple steps. Step 1, first and foremost, will be there to walk you through the application process. You can do it electronically via DocuSign. And then, of course, we pair you up with an assigned account manager that's going to, when you're ready to make that investment, they'll help you dot those I's, cross those T's. And then, of course, the funding process. There's, a combination of ways you can fund your account. You can make an annual cash contribution. You can transfer funds from an existing IRA, or you can do a direct rollover from a former employer plan like a 401k. There's no tax liability for you to do that. And then finally, step 3, start investing. What is it that you have an interest in? Is it, investing in that first Barndominium project, or is it, turning it into a short-term rental project? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie. So just bear with me one moment. My computer just keeps on flickering, so my apologies.
Okay, just let me know when you can see my screen.
I sure can.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I wanted to thank you first for having me here. I love talking about Barndominiums, and I'm so happy to sit here and talk to you guys about it. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Steph Essary. I'm also called the Barndo Mama. It's something my children coined and called me, which is very fitting. So that's what I'm known as. I have been in real estate for over 24 years. I practiced in 3 states. I was a licensed realtor, a mentor, and a coach. I'm still a licensed real estate agent, but primarily I am a custom home builder here in Texas. I specialize in barndominiums, and I really fell in love with the whole concept and the whole trend when I was looking at barndominium venues actually for my daughter about 4 years ago for her wedding. So I fell in love with it. And when I had the opportunity to bring my brother's custom home business here to Texas, I told him as long as we could specialize in barndominiums. And to kind of explain just how popular these are and how much people love them, one of the things that I started doing back last year was I wanted to start some type of marketing. So I said, I want to start a magazine. And it was intended at first to really just market our business, to let people know who we are and what we were doing, and it exploded. So that's the luxury barndominium magazine that you can see here on your screen. And it just shows you just how much people love barndominiums. In fact, between the magazine and I have a Facebook group of over 80,000, I have an Instagram of over 141,000, and that's grown extensively in the last 6 months. And so it just goes to show you just how much people love the concept and how much it's here to stay. So what is a barndominium exactly? And I know a lot of people, and especially in the northern states, it's something a relatively new term. Here in Texas, they are everywhere. So for us here in Texas, it's something that's not really new, and it's been around for a long time. But it's one of the hottest trends in building, and it can either be it could be a metal building, steel framing, or it can be a pole barn, which is wood. And they've been around for a long time. I think it was coined back in like the 80s. The gentleman was Carl Nielsen that called it a barndominium. And really what that is, it includes both a living space and a place to work. But it's actually been on farms for centuries, where farmers had their barn space, but they also had places either for them to live or the people that work their farms. So it's really not new, but it's something that people over the last couple of years have really just grown and fallen in love with. And why have they increased in popularity? I believe myself, it had a lot to do with COVID. As y'all know, we were all kind of forced to stay at home, to work from home. The kids were, learning from home. And once we were just in this space, I think people started to crave connection, and they started to crave kind of a flexibility in the design and the cost of building their homes. And what they really happened is, as they were sitting here in these small spaces, sometimes crammed into spaces, they started to realize that they wanted to design differently, they wanted to live differently, but they also wanted something that was really going to fit the lifestyle that they wanted. And that's really what the barndominium designs are all about. It's about designing, and they've designed these homes around the things that matter the most to them and the lifestyle that they want. And one of the things that is really beautiful about this type of design is it's very conducive to outdoor living. And that's what we find a lot of people are going back to. So you have a lot of these extensive outdoor spaces. You have the indoor spaces, and then you have a lot of porches and a lot of covered areas. And it really does help to bring the outdoor in, which is another reason that people love it so much. So although, like I said, it can be a wood frame structure, pole barns are these beautiful old wood structures that a lot of people have gotten these historic barns and they've renovated. But one of the most popular reasons to build with a barndominium is building with steel. And one of the main components of building with steel is the design flexibility. The engineered steel buildings offer the highest level of design flexibility, and from cantilevers to clear spaces, they provide these really open spaces. And it allows so much flexibility and so many possibilities when it comes to designing your interiors. So one of the biggest things is strength and durability. I live here in the South, so we're not that far from the coast. And one of the things that people are really concerned with is the wind load capabilities. So that's why a lot of people, and this is true as well for people in the North that deal with a lot of snow. So one of the things that people love about the steel is that it's strength and durability. And one of the things that people really like about it versus wood is that, it's impervious to like rot and termites and other insects. And so that's another reason that people, really do love that. and the insulation. So a steel engineered building can achieve the highest insulation values available anywhere. There's not a whole lot of thermal gaps or bridges, so that really you have that in lumber buildings that you really don't have here. And what does that really mean for you? It means that you're going to have lower power bills. And that's probably one of the biggest things that people love about these type of buildings, is that their utility bills tend to be a lot lower. Again, another really thing that they adore is the speed of construction. So typically what happens is when we design a building, so if my architects are designing that building, we will end up purchasing that building from a steel company. So here in the South, we use Mueller a lot. So what that does is they send the entire components to us. And there's a couple of ways that you can go with that. You can do bolt up or you can do weld up. Now the bolt up, although the time frame is a little bit longer than it used to be, the bolt up goes up very, very quickly. So in a matter of weeks rather than months, you can have your building up. And what that means is that you're away from all of the rains and nature and things like that. And then all of the work can really start happening inside. So once that building's up, as quickly as it goes up, we can start getting all the trades inside to start doing their work. So it really does take a building that maybe would take 6 to 8 months or longer, considering what we went through last year to build. It's going to be a lot quicker with these buildings. And another reason that they love it is because prefab steel is one of the most renewable resources on earth. And currently it's about 75 to 85% of recycled content and rising. So this is one of those things that people love about it. It offers stability, is weather and rust resistant, and typically lasts more than 40 or 50 years. So you're looking at much lower long-term maintenance. Barndominiums as investment properties. So I have the Barndominium, the Luxury Barndominium magazine. In our spring, we featured multi-use Barndominiums. And these range from Airbnbs all across the country to a Barndominium that was an old barn that was in New York that was actually brought to Montana, and it's called the Great Cliff Mill. It actually was on HGTV and Magnolia Network, the renovation process that they had. And it's actually a restaurant now, and they're going to be putting in some Barndominium Airbnbs there as well. So there's a lot of interest, and one of the reasons that we wanted to feature those is because there's a lot of interest in people that want to have Barndominiums, not just as a residential property for themselves, but also as an investment property. And one of the biggest reasons is because it's the durability of it. There's less long-term maintenance. These buildings go up very quickly. I would say a year ago, if you talked to me, that affordability was a really big part of it. But because of the interest, because of the demand, unfortunately, it's not as inexpensive as it used to be. But it's still, there is some savings in that steel structure. But once you get inside, it really is just like any custom home, and you can design it however you would want to. But the beauty of it is with these steel buildings is that they have the load-bearing walls on the exterior. So there's so much flexibility with the design inside. And when you have that later on down the line, if you have some of these homes, it's very easy to start moving things around, even moving interior walls. And that's one of the things that people really love, is that versatility of it. And that for investment properties like Airbnbs, restaurants, office spaces. We've also designed office spaces. These are one of those products that they're really looking to purchase. So in our spring edition, we talked about the Airbnbs that they had, as well as the multi-use possibilities of these buildings as well. And they're becoming more mainstream. So I've been a real estate agent for a long time. I don't really practice real estate anymore. I keep my license active because I've had it so long and I can't imagine letting that go. So I get to see a lot of things that are going on just in the MLS. So one of the things that we have here in Texas is that it's becoming really mainstream. I would say that the vast majority of Barndominiums being built are in Texas, but now they're coming throughout the country. I have clients in California that we're working with, in New York, even the Midwest. So we work with them on their designs. I consult with some people as well. Now they're seeing a lot of that, but here in Texas, what we're seeing is actually in the MLS, if you have a property that is a Barndominium, you have the choice now where you can choose it as a style. So before you would have Mediterranean and some other options for styles, but Barndominiums wasn't part of that. So last year in the drop-down menu, that's what we have as a realtor. If you're listing a property, you can list it as a Barndominium, because what they found was happening is that the searches for Barndominiums were going up a lot. So people were especially looking for Barndominiums, and this has happened throughout the country. So here in our region, we're one of the first regions that implemented that change to our MLS, and we're starting to hear that others are doing that as well. So that just goes to show you how much interest people have in these buildings, how much they're specifically looking for Barndominiums, and just the interest in it has gone up extensively, I would say, over the last couple of years. And that's something because of the interest that people have, not just as a residential space, but as an investment property, we're starting to feature them more and more in our magazine. This was from our spring edition, what I talked about before, and this is the Gray Cliff Mill. It's a beautiful, beautiful barn from the 1800s that was taken from New York and brought into Montana and renovated. It's absolutely gorgeous, and they are actually adding on to that property with additional Airbnbs that are going to be either old barns or Barndominiums in the form of metal buildings. So it shows you how extensive this is. And a lot of what we're having is people that are interested in having them as Airbnbs. In fact, our special spring edition, our special fall edition is going to be featuring Barndominiums all across the country. It's actually the Great American Barndominium Road Trip is what we're calling it. And we're going to be featuring some other Barndominiums from, there's plenty here in Texas, from Florida to South Dakota. So we're really excited to start featuring those because we've had a lot of people that were interested in it specifically for that reason. And another thing that we've done is we have launched the Backyard Barndos. So these are designs and Barndominium kits that are specifically for those that are looking to invest in Barndominiums, from guest houses to studios to pool houses to Airbnbs. It's really for those that are looking to have it as something other than just a residential space for themselves. So I hope I didn't rush this very much. I know we're having a little bit of computer issues today, but again, I am the founder and CEO of the Luxury Barndominium magazine. I am the Barndo Mama. I do a lot of consulting with people throughout the country that are looking to build their Barndominiums, also with builders that are looking to get into the industry, because there are a lot of builders that are just custom home builders that from different parts of the country that are really interested in getting into the Barndominium building. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things. It's not as easy as some think to go from traditional build to Barndominium. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. So I do work with them as well. And I do my own custom home buildings here in Texas. We build both in Houston and the Austin area as well. So I know that's a lot of information, but I'd love to be able to answer any questions y'all may have, to connect with you anyway, and to tell you more about Barndominium.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Great information, great presentation. Yes, I do have questions that came in, and I think you answered. You mentioned that you invest in Texas, but the question is, in addition to Texas, do you invest or build in other states, or would you consider other states?
So we do not build in other states. And the reason that I tell you this, I can connect with builders throughout the country. Now we can do the designs as well as some of the building kits. We work with distributors that can deliver all throughout the country. So we can do it in that capacity. The problem lies in that I really do believe that if you're going to have a builder, a turnkey builder, that they need to know your area. They need to know the restrictions and your codes. And it's very different from building here in Texas than, say, building in Colorado. There's a lot involved. And especially if it's building in California, there's so many different building codes throughout the country. And I don't think that, I would do it justice by taking our business and building elsewhere. That being said, we're building a list and a network of builders all throughout the country. So our goal is to be able to help people that are looking specifically for builders in different regions and to connect them. But we can help with the design work. We can actually sell the kits. But as far as the turnkey, now we do offer services as well where we can consult with them if they're looking to build on their own. So say that they do the design work with us and they order a building kit. If they're looking to build on their own and act as their own contractor, there's some things that we can assist them with. But we would love to be able to connect them with other builders that could help them.
Okay, yeah, lots of questions came in, great response. So a comment first is, great, I'll be giving you a call. Next question, just bear with me one moment. My computer jumped a bit. What's the cost? What is the building codes? Who do the design? Where are the materials coming from? Can I order them from US or can I order them from overseas, like China? So that's the question, several questions in one. So what is the cost? What's the building codes? Who do the design? Where's the material coming from?
Sure. So all of our designs meet IBC codes. Now, that being said, we always tell people with our designs that you want to go over those designs with your builder in the area that you're in, because things can change, like I said, from region to region, even with plumbing, and definitely with foundation. So these are things that even though we provide that in the design, I would suggest getting a local engineer to look at those drawings. And if we need to make changes for them, we can actually do that in-house as well. As far as the buildings are concerned, what's really important is that you need to get stamped engineered drawings. You're not always going to get that by ordering overseas. So it has to be with company. We deal with General Steel, we deal with Mueller. Those are the ones that we get our kits from. We know that they have in-house engineering. So they're going to stamp off on those drawings, and you're going to know that that's going to meet the wind load or the snow load capacities requirements in the areas that you're building in. So I would be very cautious with getting them. Having said that, there's a lot of materials that are purchased overseas. So let's say that. However, when you're going through companies like Mueller, like General Steel, people that we've dealt with, that we know have these in-house engineers, we can feel pretty confident that the buildings that they sell us are going to be structurally sound, and that's extremely important. As far as the cost is concerned, it's going to vary per region, because building here in Texas has certain requirements and building in, say, Nevada has other requirements. So there could be differences in price from those regions. So when we send that over to, say, Mueller or over to some or General Steel, they're going to give us a price based upon the area that that person is building. So that could vary. And of course, your turnkey bill from finishing it out is quite different. There's so many components to it. If you're talking about a turnkey build versus how much is it going to cost me to get the kit? Those are two very different conversations and two very different price points, because the kit's going to be quite different. I can tell you, if we were to purchase a kit, say one of our buildings, it may be $25 to $35 a square foot for that building. That does not take into consideration what it's going to cost you for your foundation, what it's going to cost you for your turnkey, for the build out. So there's a lot of variables there. Here in Texas, I can tell you, if I was building here in Texas, I can tell you with confidence that we can build from $150 to $185 per square foot turnkey build based upon the finishes level that they require. But that's going to be a little bit different of a conversation and more intensive conversation based upon the area that you're building.
Okay, great. I have more questions. First, a comment, will the slide deck be available after the webinar? Yes, the slide deck will be available. You can feel free to send me an email and request a copy, and I can reply back with a copy of it. Also, too, the recording is going to be on our YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours. Next question is, can a homeowner build themselves?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Can the homeowner build a barndominium themselves?
Yes. So, I know lots of people within the barndominium communities that I'm a part of that have built their own homes. In fact, some of the wonderful people I've connected with actually help people that are looking to build on their own. The really important thing, though, is to look at the scope of the work. It's a lot more intensive than you think it is. So you really want to look at, from start to finish, what you can and can't do. The biggest thing is talking to your local permit office to know exactly what's needed in your area. Some things that you don't want to DIY is your electric, is your plumbing, unless you're licensed plumbers or licensed electricians. That being said, there's a lot of people that that are very skilled and that have built their own homes. It may have taken them a lot longer, but they've saved a lot in the process. So there's so much involved with that, and I'd be happy to even start, get on a 10-15 minute call with anybody to kind of talk to you guys about it, to put you in the right direction, or to answer any calls you may have about that.
Okay, next question is, are you looking for any other partners or real estate agents outside of Texas?
Oh, yes. So that's one thing. Like I said, I have an Instagram account of over 141. I think we're 142,000 right now. We have a Facebook group of 85,000, not including our Facebook page. So with those numbers comes a lot of questions, and a lot of people want a lot of help. And unfortunately, it's grown so quickly that it's kind of hard to manage. I've had my team start vetting a lot of the builders, realtors throughout the country, because people do come to us. They're looking for builders. They're looking for realtors to help them find land. They're looking for lenders throughout the country. So there's a lot of people that I would love to connect with so that we could get on that resource list, because my goal by the first of the year is to have a resource list for all of our people, so that they can find the people that they need to help them start building.
Okay, and that's a follow-up question based on, do you know builders in Florida, or how can I get on that resource list? Like this person is specifically asking if you know builders in Florida, or how they can get on your resource list or get a copy of the resource list.
So we're still in the process of building out that list. When I've had people reach out to me and if I've already found a builder in the area that they are, I'm happy to pass on that information. What I don't want to do, because I'll be honest, because it is so trendy, because it is so hot, we have a lot of people that are jumping on the trend that maybe do not have experience in building, but do want to be builders. And so they've reached out to be included in that list. And I do not want to just put anybody on that list. So we ask them questions. We ask them how long they've been in business, if they're insured, pictures of the work that they're done. Do they have a website? Do they have a Facebook page? So there's things like that that we're doing to vet them, which is why it's taken a little bit longer to add them to the list than just to gather. I could probably have a full list, 300 pages of people that want to be on the list, but unfortunately, we don't want to give our people recommendations that do end up not being the best resources.
Okay, next question is, do you have designs we can view and prices, price per square foot?
Sure. So we do have designs. If someone would send us an email, we'll get that sent out to you. We have a new website that's going to be, I believe, launched in the next 2 weeks. That's going to have all of our stock plans that we have, both for the Backyard Barn Dough series, as well as some other stock plans. We have some that, working with our metal suppliers, we can sell these kits and the design. However, that may be, if you're not in our area, if we don't have a builder that we can recommend to those areas, then we would work with you to possibly find someone or help you vet, a builder in that area. If you wanted to do it as a DIY project, I'd be able to, to help you a little bit on that, but also maybe to connect you with others that can help you. But we do have lots of resources that we're building that hopefully over the next few weeks or month, it'll be available on our new website.
Okay, next question is, do you work with self-directed IRA passive investors? And if so, do I have to be an accredited investor?
No, so we're open to work with them. I would love to, connect and talk a little bit more about that. Like I said, we just started doing some things for investors. It's become so hot, and this business has grown so quickly over the last year, what started out as working with just residential, builds has turned into working with investors, because people are really eager to jump on this trend and make it work for themselves and their money.
Okay, next question is, do these buildings need a basement?
I did not hear that again. I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that?
The question is, do these buildings need a basement? They're asking if should it have a basement? Mm-hmm.
So depending on where you live, you can definitely have a basement. So it just depends on your location, the soil that you're in. Here in Texas, in the hill country, we can have some areas underneath, but unfortunately here in the Houston area, you don't have that. Up north, most of these homes are going to have barndominiums. So yes, basements. You can have a basement, but that would be factored into the design as well as the design of the building itself.
Okay. Next one was a comment, and then I have more questions. I would like to share a deck with our LPs. Thanks. Okay, yes. So I have your email. I will send you a copy of the slide deck once we're done. Next question is, what is your view on landscape of the real estate market in general, and how does it impact Barndominiums?
So we have to remove I think what's happened is a lot of people have separated Barndominiums, that it could be put in there with any home. Right now, I think what people are looking at is they're really scared with where we are, but you have to look at it long term. Like I said, I've been in the business since 1997. I was in the business in 2008 and 2009, where we went through the recession. We know what happened to the housing market. What people are looking at is looking at the last couple of years in real estate and what's happened to the housing market, say in the last 6 months, and it's scared a lot of people. You have to look at it long term. I mean, yes, our interest rates are rising, but they're not as high as they were back in 2008. So you have to look at it long term over maybe the last 5 to 10 years as opposed to the last 2 years. There's a lot of fear mongering happening in the market. I think from my real estate friends that I talk to all of the time, they do not see the bottom falling out of anything. Right now, if this tells you anything, yesterday I received 10 calls for estimates for homes. So there are still people building, there are still people purchasing. It's definitely slowed down, more from the fact that interest rates have gone up, and it has priced some people out of the market, unfortunately, that were looking to build, that were looking to purchase. People are very cautious as well, so they're taking their time to kind of fill it out and to see what happens. But from what my real estate community has told me, they do not foresee the same thing happening that's happened in 2008, 2009. But people are just really cautious right now. And there's still a lot of people that are looking to build. There are a lot of people that are looking to purchase.
Okay, great. Great answer. Next question is, can you tell us a little bit more about the backyard barndos? I'm sorry, someone's asking in terms of investing, like how much would I have to invest, or is there a minimum?
Sure. So these designs go all the way from 500 square feet upwards. We have some designs that we're working on now that are actually venues that we haven't put out yet. We haven't finished those. And those are for like wedding venues, event venues. And like I mentioned before, I fell in love with the concept when I was touring venues in the Hill Country for our daughter's wedding 4 years ago. And that's the main reason when we started this business, I wanted to specialize in Barndominiums. I've loved barns pretty much all my life. I've always loved barns. So that's kind of where this backyard barndo concept came as well, because we found people that wanted smaller ones for, say, mother-in-law suites, or they wanted studios in their backyard, or they wanted to have an Airbnb, because we have a couple of clients that we're working with now that want, they actually want 5 Airbnbs on a small property in the Hill Country. So what we decided is there was so much interest in these, we came up with the backyard barndos, which is kind of our take on tiny homes. And what's beautiful about these is that we can, working with our metal manufacturers, we can sell these kits. So it really comes down to the design that you want. If you're just purchasing the building, like I said, it can be anywhere from $20, $25 a square foot upward, just depending on the design that you're going with. You can have a very simple design that maybe just has 9-foot ceilings, or you may want something that's vaulted. You may want a higher pitch on the building as well. So there's a lot of factors in there that can increase the price, but we're talking about building alone. So when you purchase this building, if it's not an area that we're building, then we're thinking that, okay, you're going to have someone else do your foundation. You're going to order this building. This building will be delivered for someone to erect this building for you. What we are working with right now is to try to find erectors throughout the country. So if we can find erectors that specifically erect these buildings, then that's something they could purchase from us, but then those erectors would erect it where you are. So there's some costs there that we do not know those costs. But as far as purchasing those buildings, the building itself can be anywhere from $25 to $35, $40 a square foot, depending on the actual building design. like I said, I could talk more specifically once if somebody reaches out to me and I send them a couple of the plans that we have, we can talk more specifically about the cost of those buildings, because until you're actually looking at a floor plan, it's really hard to throw out costs because there are so many variables. And especially when you talk in terms of building out, because the more, I will tell you, the more cabinet space you have, the bigger windows you have, those are things that are going to drive up costs that people really never think about, because they think I want a whole lot of light in, so I want these big, beautiful windows, or I want cabinet space galore. And those are things that will drive up the cost as far as an interior finish out. So there's a lot of things I'd love to talk to you guys about, because it's very specific to the design and the plan that you have in mind.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. In the future, will you have a Barndo fund or a REIT that you offer to passive investors or retirement investors?
I'm sorry, I guess I'm getting a little feedback on my earphones. Could you replace that? Say that again?
In the future, will you offer a Barndo fund or a REIT for passive investors or retirement investors?
You know what? That's something that I would be very interested in doing. So I would have to, talk to my partners a little bit more than that. But yes, I'm very open to that.
Okay, and next question that came is, do you have people on the ground in Florida building your barn?
We do not. We have a couple of builders in that area that, we could recommend. So if you want to just send me your location, I can put you in touch with a couple of people. We do actually have a manufacturer there as well that we've worked with that, has erectors all through that area. So if you're just looking to purchase the building, if you're just looking to have that erected, there's somebody that has been a good resource for us. So, depending on where you are, we do have some resources available.
Okay, and one final question is the turnaround time. I think in your presentation you mentioned weeks, but is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? Can you talk a little bit more about the turnaround time to build?
Sure. So as far as when we're ordering the buildings, what happened last year is that these buildings, when we went to order, I would say about 2020, 2021, this started happening, just kind of what was happening with COVID. So buildings that were taking 6 to 8 weeks from the time that you ordered them to the time that they were delivered on site would be 6 to 8 weeks. Right now, they're running 10 to 14 weeks. 6 months ago, they were 16 to 24 weeks. So I will tell you that just based upon kind of what was happening in the market and just the issues that they were having, they were much longer time frames. Now, once that building is ordered, so if you ordered a building, we set on design, we agreed on it, your deposit is made, and that building is ordered, typically you're looking at about 10 to 12 weeks for delivery of the building. If they are kit forms, so I will tell you there are some that are kits, so like a 30 by 40 or 40 by 60, those are what they tend to consider kits. There's not as much custom cuts involved, because even with Barndominiums, there's people that want bump out, want a lot more customization to it, and that will take longer for these buildings to be fabricated and of course delivered. So if you stick to something that's very simple, you can look at 10 to 12 weeks for delivery of that building. The erection of the building is what happens very quickly. So if your foundation's done and the erection starts, these guys have done depending on the size of the building, have done anything from less than a week to 2 weeks, having the whole building up, ready for work to begin inside. And that's what people really, what they love about it, because then it's away from the elements, whether you live up north where it's starting to snow, or you live down south where, it's raining all the time, although we haven't got a lot of rain lately. It's ready for the good stuff to really start happening inside. So it can happen relatively quickly. And I would just say have your trades lined up to get ready inside once that building's up.
Okay, and I see that you have your contact information. Someone's asking, where do I send my info to?
Yes, so you can send it to either one of those. You can send it to Steph at stephessary.com. You can also send us any inquiries to magazine@luxurybarndominiums.com, but that's for people that may want to be featured, that may want a little bit more information about that. If you want to talk to me directly, if you can reach out to Steph at stephessary.com, I usually get back to everyone within 24 hours, if not sooner.
I'll go ahead and make myself the presenter. I think that covers all of the questions that came in. Great questions from everyone. Stephanie, this has been just a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so very much for, taking the time to just knowledge share with us and kind of, make us aware of this niche or this trendy concept of barndominium investing. If you have questions about self-directed IRAs, definitely feel free to reach out to me at advantaira.com or give us a call, send me an email. I'm happy to discuss your scenario with you and get you set up with your account. And with that, if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and end the webinar. But Stephanie, again, thank you so very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you for bearing with this migraine. I couldn't always think of words. So, I usually talk a lot more. So I appreciate you having me as well.
You're fine. Thank you. I don't know what happened to my computer. I know you were having audio issues earlier, but my computer just kept on freezing up. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.